Hello and welcome to the Harvard College of Business. This pre-business curriculum video will guide you through all of your class requirements for your freshman and sophomore years. Before we start, I'd like to tell you about the buildings on the screen. At the top left is Horton Hargrave Hall, and at the bottom right is Louder Hall. These two buildings make up Auburn University's business complex, and this is where you'll spend many hours attending classes, studying, and networking with faculty, advisors, career counselors, program champions, and industry recruiters. You're going to have classes in both of our buildings, but Louder Hall is where you'll find our academic advising office. I'm going to cover a lot of information in this presentation, but I'll break it down in easy to understand sections. Students joining us in person should turn to pages 5 and 6 in their business guidebook. Students joining us remotely should pause the video at this point and print the 2-page curriculum model using the link on the screen. I want to remind all students that we're going to cover a lot of information, so you'll need to be prepared to take notes as we're moving along.
Here are some important details to keep in mind. How does AP, IB, or dual enrollment credit affect your course options? Your number one rule is do not plan to retake any courses for which you already have college credit. The next things to keep in mind are what is your math placement for fall, followed by what is your English placement for fall. That information has been provided to you on your check-in sheet. Next, what courses are you required to complete fall term? And I will address those as we move through the video. The next thing to consider, what courses are you eligible to take and what courses are you not eligible to take fall term? I'm going to cover courses today that will not be options for everyone for fall term due to prerequisites. I'll make sure you're clear on which classes you're eligible to take and which courses you're not yet eligible to take fall term. Your job today is to decide which 15 to 16 hours you want to take fall term based on the course options detailed in this video. You'll share your preferred class options with the business advisor shortly. For students joining us in person, that meeting will take place in about an hour from now, and for students joining us remotely, that meeting will take place via Zoom. So watch your Auburn email for details.
Let's start by looking at the pre-business curriculum as one big picture, and then we'll break it down into smaller pieces. We'll start by acknowledging that all of the courses on the pre-business curriculum are required for all business majors. So even if you don't have a clue which specific major in business you want to ultimately declare, that's no problem. Everyone in business starts as a pre-business major with the same course requirements. Secondly, wherever you see a green check mark, that's your indication that the class does not have any prerequisites associated with it. Some of you are familiar with the significance of prerequisites from high school, but some of you aren't. So we'll do a quick review of prerequisites. A prerequisite, or prereq as you'll hear us call it, is a requirement that has to be completed before you're eligible to take a course. A prereq could be a class, or it could even be a class standing, as in you have to be a sophomore to take this course. Quick side note, you need to have at least 30 earned hours to reach sophomore status. Every year we have students who think sophomore standing simply means they've made it to their second year at Auburn. But no, your classification at Auburn is all about the number of credits you've earned. Now let's look at where to find and how to decipher prereq information. To simplify things for Camp War Eagle, we've provided a lot of prerequisite information on the pre-business curriculum. However, please know that the Auburn Bulletin provides course description and prereq information for every class taught at Auburn. Let's look at a couple of examples that are straight from the Auburn Bulletin, and students joining us in person can turn to page 7 of the guidebook. The first example is Accounting 2110, Principles of Financial Accounting. Right after the course number and the course title is a number in parentheses. That is the number of credit hours the course is worth. And credit hours are a big deal in college. You need to always know how many credit hours each class is worth. You need to know how many credit hours you are carrying each semester. And you need to know how many total credit hours you've completed. The next thing you'll see is the structure of the course, which will either be LEC or LAB. So of course LEC stands for lecture. We'll see an example of a lab later on. Right after that, you'll see another number. That is the number of hours per week you can expect to be in that class. For this class, we'll then see PR, which stands for prereq. The prereq for Principles of Financial Accounting is sophomore standing. Then, of course, you'll find the course description. So let's look at another example. We see that Accounting 2210, Principles of Managerial Accounting, is a 3-credit-hour lecture course where we can expect to spend 3 in-class hours per week. Then we see that the prereq is Accounting 2110. So before we can take Accounting 2210, we must have credit for Accounting 2110, and before we can take Accounting 2110, we must be a sophomore. These are examples of courses that build on one another, and keep that theme in mind because we're going to see it again in the pre-business curriculum, and you will absolutely see it when you begin your upper level business courses later on. Okay, so now that we know there are some classes we can take without having to worry about prereqs, and there are other classes that do have prereqs that have to be completed first, and we need to pay attention to credit hours, you're hopefully getting a better idea of how much you need to understand as you get ready to navigate a college curriculum. It is not difficult to navigate, it's just a lot to navigate. The last thing I want to point out in the big picture is the word core. So we'll locate all of those. Wherever you see the word core in the curriculum, you'll refer to the core menu to see all of your course options. And this is your core menu. We'll refer to it when we talk about these core classes. Students joining us virtually will find the core menu on page 2 of the pre-business curriculum model, and students joining us in person will find the core menu on page 6 of the guidebook. So now that you know all the components of the big picture, let's talk through each course on the pre-business curriculum. The first class you'll see on your curriculum is Business 1010, Professional Development in Business Part 1. As you'll see, it's a 1-hour course that is specifically required for all business majors fall term. This course will provide an introduction to the College of Business and its resources, and will also introduce you to professional development opportunities and ways to get involved with the College of Business. Lastly, this class will get you used to keeping up with all of the College of Business and university announcements. In other words, this class is almost like a second orientation to the College of Business. The next class you'll see is English 1100, English Composition 1. This is a 3-credit-hour class that requires a minimum grade of C, which is usually not a problem for the caliber of students we have here in the College of Business. Some of you already have credit for English Composition 1. If you do, you'll talk more about that with your camp advisor during your advising session later on. If you don't already have credit for English Composition 1, this course is definitely an option for your fall schedule. The next class in the curriculum is Math 1680, Business Calculus 1, which is a 4-hour class. Some students may need to take preparatory math coursework before going into Math 1680. Your math placement for fall depends on your highest ALEX Math Assessment score or any AP, IB, or dual enrollment math credit that you'll earn prior to fall. Since different students will have different starting points in math, let's look at a math progression table for the College of Business. If you're slated to begin your math studies with Math 1000, which is college algebra, then your math progression would be Math 1000 Fall, Math 1120 for spring, and then Math 1680 for the next semester. If you're slated to begin your math studies with Math 1120, then your math progression would be Math 1120 Fall, and then Math 1680 for spring. And then, of course, there are students who are slated to go directly into Math 1680 fall term. Math 1680 is the last course with an MATH course prefix you'll be required to take for your College of Business degree. But just because it's the last course in the curriculum with an MATH course prefix, it is not the last time you'll use those foundational math skills in your curriculum. You'll use those math skills throughout your 4-year business program. This means that all business students need to buckle down on the math requirements. So unless you already have AP,
IB, or dual enrollment credit for calculus, you'll need to be in your first designated math course fall term.
Next, you'll see COM 1000. This is a 3-credit-hour course that'll prepare you for the class presentations you'll be doing throughout your business curriculum and will also prepare students for the leadership roles they're bound to be in at the university and beyond. Since this course has no prerequisites, you're eligible to take it fall term. Next is microeconomics, which is a 3-hour class. This course has no prerequisites, so you're eligible to take it fall term as well. Next is macroeconomics, which is another 3-hour economics course. Like microeconomics, there are no prerequisites, so this course is also an option for fall term. Even though both of the economics courses are options for fall, and technically from a prerequisite standpoint, they can be taken in the same semester, we do not recommend taking them in the same semester. Try to keep microeconomics and macroeconomics separated into 2 different terms. Next, we have business law, which is not an option for fall unless you're entering Auburn as a sophomore. I am going to include sophomore level courses in this pre-business coverage since, 1, they are part of the business curriculum, and 2, we actually do have some students entering Auburn with sophomore standing due to AP, IB, or dual enrollment credits. However, I'm not going to focus on sophomore level courses right now. The Camp War Eagle advisors for those few students will focus on those courses during their upcoming advising meeting. Next, we have Business 2010, which is the second part of the Professional Development Series. This course will be taken as a sophomore and will include heavier development topics including interview skills and professional etiquette along with salary negotiation skills. About 20 years ago, these were senior level topics, but in today's business industry, these skills have to be perfected early in your college career since business majors will begin networking with industry as early as the freshman or sophomore year. The next course on your curriculum is English 1120, English Composition 2. The prereq for this course is English Comp 1, and just like English Comp 1, this course also requires a grade of C or better. A few of you already have credit for English Comp 2, and again, that will be something you and your Camp War Eagle advisor will discuss during your academic advising meeting. The next courses listed are Business Analytics 1 and 2, and as you see, Business Calculus is the prereq for Business Analytics 1, and then Business Analytics 1 is the prereq for Business Analytics 2. So let's bring up that math progression chart again, and this time we'll include the business analytics courses. So this is a huge reason you cannot get behind in your math studies as a business major. These courses all build on one another, which is the theme I asked you to keep in mind when we covered prereqs earlier. The next courses are all sophomore level courses, so we won't invest a lot of time here. Just note something about the managerial accounting course. Remember when I said that all courses listed on the pre-business curriculum are required for all students in business? Managerial accounting is the only exception. Accounting majors are not required to take that course. But don't worry, future accounting majors, you have a lot of fun waiting on you in the junior year. Look where we are. I see the word core. Let's talk about your core fine arts requirement. It's time to take a look at your core menu, which is on page 6 for those participating in person or on the second page of the pre-business curriculum for those joining us remotely. You'll see the core fine arts options at the top of the page. Since there are no prereqs for the core fine arts options, you can go ahead and complete this requirement fall term. The only other thing I have to add here is that the core fine arts options are all appreciation-based, not performance-based. That's why courses like band, chorus, guitar, acting, those types of performance-based classes won't satisfy the core fine arts requirement. So hang in here with me because the next set of requirements usually generate the most questions. So next we'll find the Core Lab Science 1 and 2 requirements. So let's review your options on the core menu. Each bullet point contains an approved science pairing that will satisfy your Core Lab Science 1 and 2 requirements. You do not take both sciences in the same semester. You'll take the first science in the approved pairing in one semester, and then you'll take that second science in that approved pairing in a completely different semester. So let's look at a couple of examples. So the first one is SCMH 1010, and it's pairing of Geology 1100. So SCMH 1010 would be taken in one semester, and then Geology 1100 would be taken in a future semester. So let's look at another pairing option. Biology 1000 plus its 1001 lab would be taken in one semester, and then Biology 1010 and its 1011 lab would be taken in a future semester. So those are just a couple of examples to show you that you choose your one pairing, but you separate those two science courses within the pairing into two totally separate semesters. Over the years, we've had a lot of incoming freshmen ask which science pairing they should take. And honestly, that's up to each student, but I'll give you a few tips here. Think about the sciences you completed in high school and make your decision based on that experience. Auburn offers areas of science that you experienced at the high school level, and there are science options that you've never taken, but you might be interested in now. My biggest tip is you're deciding which science pairing is best for you, and I cannot stress this enough. If you did not take chemistry or physics in high school, college is not the time to give either of those a try. While we're walking down this path, make sure you take note of that stop sign sitting at the bottom of the core science options. While those courses to the right of the stop sign are university-wide core science options, I do not recommend them for business majors. Those options are geared more towards science and engineering majors, so there's your warning. As far as other planning issues are concerned, since your first science course is free of prerequisites, it is an option for fall term. Before we get away from the core science coverage, you'll need to learn about co-requisites because you will see this with certain science courses, specifically biology, chemistry, and the forestry wildlife sciences options, and you'll see it in some of your junior and senior level business courses. Co-recs must be taken together. You'll want to pay attention to that at registration time if you plan to take biology or chemistry or forestry wildlife science options. You'll have to register for both the lecture and the lab, or you'll get a registration error. Make a note about that on your core menu sheet, even if you don't plan to take your first core science in the fall term. And here we are at the last set of requirements. Students will choose one of these 4 course options. The main difference in the options is the number of history courses that are required versus the number of literature courses that are required. So let's do a more detailed review. Students who choose the 2 history, 1 literature option will take World History 1 and World History 2. They will also take a core humanities, and since we see the word core, we know we have a menu from which to choose. And those same students will take 1 core literature from the core menu. So let's switch gears and talk through the other option here. Students who choose the option with 1 history and 2 literatures will take only 1 history, and that can be either World History 1 or World History 2. And those students will choose a core social science from the core menu. And of course, those students will take one of the 2 course literature series from the literature core menu. So let's go over some of the most common questions that come from the history literature options. Number 1, neither of the history courses have prereqs. Does that mean I can take World History 2 without having completed World History 1 first? Yes. Make a note here. The history courses can be taken out of sequential order. That's why both have green check marks, and this means that either history course, Part 1 or Part 2, is an option for fall. Second question, are there other courses I can take out of sequential order? Yes, there is one other subject in the pre-business curriculum where courses can be taken out of sequential order, and that is core literature. Same concept as history here. You can take core literature part 2 without having completed Core Lit Part 1 first. Third question. So is core literature an option for fall? For most incoming freshmen, no. Core literature is not an option for fall. Even though you have the freedom of taking core literature series out of sequential order, they still have the prerequisites of English Composition 1 and 2. So unless you already have college credit for English Composition 1 and 2, you have to wait on core literature. The next question, do I need to take a core humanities and a core social science? No. Core humanities is only required for students who choose the 2 history route, and core social science is only required for students who choose the 2 literature route. And the last question, so am I supposed to take all 4 of these courses in the same semester? No, you'll want to split these courses up into 2 to 4 semesters unless you already have college credit for some of them. So, now you know everything about the pre-business curriculum. Welcome to the Harbert College of Business family. We look forward to being a part of your Auburn journey.